It's a good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, Millsy. Back at home talking about Rec for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the Commander of the Federalists on my quest to brew the magic. You know the motto, baby. It's ABB, always be brewing, and that's what we're back to do today. The deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. As also, I'd really appreciate it if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe. Consider checking out the links in the description. I'd really appreciate it. But as we continue celebrating our Innistrad look here as we work our way up towards Aether Gift, it wouldn't be Innistrad to me without werewolves, and it wouldn't be werewolves without Tovolar. So let's take a look at Tovolar. Updated, last time we took a look at him was back in Modern Horizons 3, so there hasn't been too much new stuff, but a couple werewolves did get a nice pretty printing in that showcase frame. So not enough in my opinion. I think more of them should have, to be 100% honest. I would have loved to have seen a set where every card had that showcase frame that could have, but that's neither here nor there. Tovolar is a 3-mana 3/3 human werewolf. This is whenever a wolf or werewolf we control deals combat damage to a player, we draw a card. Beginning of our upkeep, if we control 3 or more wolves and or werewolves, it becomes night. Then we transform any number of human werewolves we control, and it has daybound. On the nightbound side, it says whenever a wolf or werewolf we control deals damage to a player, we draw a card. And for X, red, and green, we can give a wolf or werewolf we control +X/+O and trample. So no spells in turn would originally turn it to night, and then 2 in turn would put it back to day, if I recall correctly. But Tovolar, of course, is going to do his best to make sure that we're always making it night on our turn. If you weren't around when Midnight Hunt originally came out, the reason that it has daybound and nightbound, and it has the text then transform into a number of human werewolves you control, is because the original werewolves in Innistrad and Shadows over Innistrad block do not have daybound and nightbound. So they transform completely differently, and that's why Tovolar has to have that text. We'll talk about that a little bit more in that under that slide where it says transform the old ones if need be. We'll talk about why we have to play those cards. But the TLDR of it is that the daybound nightbound werewolves cannot transform. They can only transform with the daybound and nightbound mechanic. So we'll talk about our wolf pack, our creatures that we want to see. And we're a Gruul deck, so at the end of the day, we want to play things to hit harder and hit hard. I mean, that's what we want to do, not only because it draws us cards, but because that's how we're going to win in combat. So that is the point of what we're trying to do. Remember, starting upkeep, if we have 3 or more, including Tovolar, we flip over, everything flips over. Remember, every single werewolf in our deck is better on the backside than it is on the front side. Starting off with our wolves, we have 2 planeswalkers in the deck, both Arlen Cord, our werewolf planeswalker. She has 2 printings, one from the original Innistrad block there, and then one from the new round. This is the old one that just actually got that reprint there in Innistrad Remastered. On the front side, we can give up to 1 creature, Vigilance, and Haste, and then we can make a wolf token and flip her over. On the back side, the +1 can give our creatures +1/+1 and trample, a great ability. The -1 can ping a target for 3 and put her back on the front side. And then the -6 can give us an emblem where creatures we control have haste and tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power to any target. Another great ability. So we really love Arlen specifically on the backside to give that trample and the +1/+1, but can be flipped back over to the front side if need be if we really want those wolves, right? Just think about it. You could dole out the 3 damage and then 0 her right in the next turn to make the wolf if we need it. Immerwolf here on the first page is probably the most important creature in our deck that isn't a werewolf. And that's because it has a really great ability. So each other creature you control that's a wolf or werewolf gets +1/+1. That's not the ability we care about. It's the bottom one. Non-human werewolves we control cannot transform. This is a great ability because that's going to stop our werewolves from flipping, the older ones from flipping back over where they get weaker. And make sure they're always the best we can have from them. We almost always want to see Immerwolf when we can because it's going to help make every single werewolf in our deck better. Here's the new one, Arlen's the Pack's Hope. Daybound, Nightbound, so you can see the new one works with Tovolar. The front side, notice you have no way to transform because it's all based on Daybound and Nightbound. The front side, you can give your creatures Flash. This is used to help flip those old ones, right? Not being able to cast a spell, right? Not casting a spell means those old ones flip. So that's how you basically can do that to help your old vampires or werewolves. And then the -3 can make a couple wolf tokens. But on the backside, right, +2 adds mana. The 0 makes her into a 5/5 with trample, indestructible, and haste. A great attacker, right? there's arguments on which one's better. I think the older one's a little better in my opinion, but both of them are really good and we want to see them in the deck. And then Nightpack Ambusher, one of our other favorite wolves we have in the deck, giving a buff to those wolf and werewolves. And beginning of our end step, if we didn't cast a spell, we can make a wolf. So very useful again for those old werewolves to get them to flip back over. So here we go. We'll talk about the old werewolves here, starting with Breakneck Riders. What I did here is I'm not talking about every wolf that's in the werewolf that's in the deck. I just picked my favorites to talk about, and we'll kind of talk about the difference between the front side and the back side. So you can see Breakneck Rider on the front side, no ability. It's just a 3/3 for 3. But if no spells were cast last turn, we get to transform it, right? And it turns into Neckbreaker, which gives all of our creatures +1/+0 and trample. And then you can see there at the beginning of each upkeep, if the player casts 2 or more spells last turn, turn it back over, right? So that's the way to get them to flip back over. That's what we want to prevent as much as possible. Duskwatch Recruiter just got that reprint in Innistrad Remastered. With the new border, we can pay 3 to look at the top 3, reveal the creature, put them into our hand, and then it can transform. And on the backside, it turns into Kralin Horde Howler, which reduces all the spells, the casting cost of our creatures by 1. Gyreach Bane is just a 3/2 with haste. It could flip over into Vildan Pack Alpha, which actually says whenever a werewolf you control enters, you can transform it, which is a huge ability, making sure that the werewolves get into their best form right away. Huntmaster of the Fells got that beautiful reprint in the old frame as well. The front side makes a wolf and gains 2 life. And when it gets to the backside, it deals 2 damage to target opponent, planeswalker, and 2 damage up to 1 creature that player controls. So not a bad attacker, turning into a 4/4 with trample on the backside. Instigator Gang gives +1/+0 to all of our attacking creatures, but on the backside it gives +3/+0 and gets trample for itself. It includes itself there, so it will come in 8/5 with trample, which is pretty cool. Kessig Naturalist on the newer round of werewolves. Jeez, vampires. Whenever it attacks, you add a red or a green, and you don't lose mana as steps and phases end. And on the backside, you still get the same ability, but you just add the buff, which is a really nice thing, and it gets a little bit bigger for it. Mayor of Averbrook giving all other humans +1/+1 on the front side, and werewolves +1/+1 on the backside. And beginning our end step, we get a wolf token on the backside as well. So obviously very much better on the backside. Stormseeker gives out +1/+0 and haste to a creature each one of our combats. And on the backside, it's +2/+0 trample and haste. So again, great on the backside as well. Huntmaster makes 2 wolves on the front side. And on the backside, it makes 2 wolves on ETB or attack. And for 4 mana, you can have a wolf fight a creature you don't control. A great ability. Wolf or werewolf fighting is a great ability, especially when it has a big body, but there are other wolves that have big bodies for it to fight. Remember, it can't fight, but your other wolves can. And getting 2 every time it comes in or attacks is huge. The other thing to note about the Daybound, Nightbound werewolves is that whatever it is which side they come in on. So if it's day, it will come in on this side. If it's night, it comes in on this side. Whereas the old werewolves will always come in on their front side. So that's good to know when we talk about the new ones. Ulrich of the Kralin Horde was the go-to werewolf commander for a while before Tovolar came out. When it comes in on the front side, we give a creature +4/+4 till end of turn, and when it transforms, we get to fight a non-werewolf creature if we want to. Village Watch may look expensive, 5 mana for a 4/3 with haste, but on the backside, it gives all of our other wolves and werewolves haste, which is a great ability. And then Outland Liberator can pay 1 to sacrifice to destroy an artifact or enchantment. And on the backside, whenever it attacks, we get to do it for defending player. So again, just great abilities all around. Again, try to get as many of them as we can and use them to get our real advantage. But we want to talk about transforming, because there are some cards that transform werewolves. You'll see that Moonmist transforms all humans and then prevent all combat damage that we dealt this turn by creatures other than werewolves and wolves. This is important because this is going to transform all those humans into their backsides and then make them even better in combat, right? Remember, only the old ones. Waxing Moon can transform up to 1 target werewolf, and then all of our creatures get trampled on the turn. Again, pick the right one. So remember that we can only do these to the old werewolves, not the new ones. We do have a couple cards in the deck that can do change day and night to the new ones. And that's the Celestis, and we have a couple other cards, but Celestis is the one we'll talk about. It becomes day as the Celestis comes in. We could tap it from any color. For 3, if it's night, it becomes day. Otherwise, it becomes night and activate only as a sorcery. So we can turn it into nighttime. This is helpful if Tovolar's not out, but we have other werewolves out. We can turn it to nighttime, right? And help all of our newer werewolves get better. And then whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, we gain a life, We can draw a card, and if we do, we discard. So that's pretty great as well, considering day and night will flip, right? As people are either casting or not casting enough spells, right? This will flip back and forth, meaning that we have the opportunities for this. The only downside of this day and night cycle is you're going to have to track it. You're going to have to be vigilant in your game. You're going to have to understand what's going on when, so that your opponents and you are all on the same page. But this, it's just honestly, I would say if you want to play a deck that does a lot of attacking, this is going to be a paradise for you, because in our budget, I was able to play Triumph of the Hordes. I was able to play all those, alpha striking cards you want to play, and I probably had room to play Finale Devastation if you really wanted to. I don't know if you'll get the mana for it, but you have plenty of room in your budget for it. Overwhelming Stampede, these alpha strikey type cards that are just going to be brutal for your opponents. Great Train Heist is a great multifaceted spell for you. On the one hand, you can tap all creatures you control and get into their combat, or on the other hand, for 3 mana, you can just give all your creatures first strike and +1/+0. A great ability. This last ability is there as well. Choose target opponent. Whenever a creature you control does damage to it, make a trapped treasure. That is there, actually. I have seen times where I've been able to use multiple on there for big benefit. Banner of Kinship, Coat of Arms, hopefully just going to increase the size of our creatures as we get into combat and do that. Dolmen Gate, got to stop our opponent's blocks from mattering, right? Prevent all combat damage to be dealt to our attacking creatures, keeping them alive no matter what, potentially having a chance to hit for more mana. Beastmaster Ascension, whenever a creature we control attacks, we get a quest counter. And once it hits 7, everybody gets +5/+5. A great way to grow our board over the course of the game. Berserker's Onslaught, giving them double strike, works really well with Trample, making sure that we can hit for a ton of damage. The first of our 2 werewolf-specific trample cards. We have Full Moon's Rise. Werewolves we control have +1/+0 and trample. And then we could sack it to regenerate all werewolves we control. And then Howlpack Resurgence. Each creature you control that's a wolf or werewolf gets +1/+1 and trample. So there's just some way to give trample and a buff. Rural War Chant, giving menace to all of our creatures. Great, right? Making them harder to block. Garruk's Uprising, giving that trample is the real reason we play it, but the draw is nice when we can get it. Rhythm of the Wild, mainly for haste. But if we're not going to bring a werewolf in, we don't want it to attack that turn, they can get a counter, making them bigger on a later turn. Another buff in Shared Animosity, potentially buffing all of our creatures when they attack. And then Unnatural Growth, it has a werewolf on it, right? We gotta play it, doubling all of our power and toughness on each combat. Beautiful, right? Especially if we take multiple combats. Things like this normally are until end of turn, these Shared Animosity style abilities, but the deck gets even better when you take multiple combats, and that's what I built the deck to do. We are playing cards that take extra combats, but really it's this Ag Assault style combo that I think is going to take our werewolves over the edge. There's a lot of things we could pair with Ag Assault. My 2 favorites are Sword of Feast and Famine and the Reaver Cleaver. Effectively, how this is going to work is both of these have ability to free up mana. Feast and Famine is going to untap all of your lands if that creature hits, and Reaver Cleaver is going to make you treasures equal to the amount of damage dealt. Effectively, for both of them, you need to have at least 5 mana when that's said and done. If you can, then you can reactivate Aggravated Assault and take another combat and keep the train going. Feast and Famine makes it a little easier because you get protection from black and from green, meaning you could potentially hit a player for free depending on what they have. Reaver Cleaver just gives them +1/+1 and trample, but this combo, I think, works the best, and it's ideal when you could pair it with something like Banner of Kinship or Coat of Arms or Beastmaster Ascension, so that you can make sure your creatures are always big enough that they're going to survive multiple combats being blocked. And if that's the case, then you're off to the races on taking multiple combats and finishing the game that way. But I've said it before on the show, and I'll say it again, no deck's ever complete. There's still a lot we can learn in testing. I think the main 2 questions are, do we need more of the combats? Nature's Will is another of those combo cards with Aggravated Assault. I actually like it a little bit better than the other ones because you just need a creature to hit a player to tap all lands that player controls and untap all yours. I think of these 3 cards, it's probably the one that I would come back in almost immediately. I just ran out of slots for it. We have things like Relentless Assault, these take an extra combat type spells. We could play them. Obviously more of them means more options. We are playing 1 or 2 in the deck. It's just, you could increase them. And then there's other Overrun style cards. You have Overrun, which we're not playing, but is an option, +3/+3 and trample to the whole board. You have Preposterous Proportions, +10/+10 and Vigilance. There's a lot of options for more of these elf strikey type cards we could add in. I think I am more apt to try to find a way to net more mana every turn so that we can play more things. I think that's why I like Nature's Will. But I think there's a lot of arguments for different things. And so in testing, we'd be looked to see, do we have enough of that? And if we don't, maybe we need to add more. But let's get into our play tests. First one, keep it a 3-lander with that Feast of Famine, Banner, Kingship, the Ambusher, and Mayor of Aberbrook. So not bad. We've got a decent start so far. I think we're looking to go turn 2 Aberbrook. Remember, plus on all the humans on the front side, and then plus all werewolves right on the back side. So remember that we do have to track this now, which I think is going to be the downside to some people. So if no spells were cast, it flips over, and then if at least two or more, right, then it flips back over, right? So it's good to track, right, as we're going. But I think here we're just playing Tovolar. If we have anywhere to swing Aberbrook, we can. I doubt it. It's just a 1/1. It doesn't get that buff itself, right? Start of turn 4. Again, no, we don't fulfill Tovolar, so it's probably not going to happen. I think my thought here is you either Farseek and kind of get the extra mana, or we do something like Ambusher and try to guarantee them flipping next turn. I think there's a lot of ways to go. You could always do something like Waxing Moon. Then if players are casting 2 spells, you're getting wolves out of it. I think there's arguments for Ambusher. There's an argument for Farseek. There's an argument for Waxing Moon. I think there's plenty of ways to look at it. If you think someone's going to play 2 or more spells, I think Howling Moon makes the most sense because we could get a buff this turn on something like Tovolar to get it in for some damage. Ambusher, I think, has a better chance of making sure that we get to our 3 for Tovolar. And the reason I say that is because we could flash it in, meaning that we could actually flip Tovolar over after this turn into Nightbound. But obviously, remember, he only gets that flip over ability to transform our werewolves if he's on the front side. So I think I would probably go Howling Moon. This is going to look really dumb if nobody, right, casts 2 spells. But the truth is, I think there's a hot chance for them to start doing it, especially as we're trying to ramp here in these early turns. Give Tovolar the buff. Let's say for the purposes of this that he does hit for some damage. Come back for turn 5. Unfortunately, no land, which is where that didn't work out. But let's say we did get the wolf. Let's say we did get the wolf off of Howling Moon. So let's say these do turn over, giving the buffs. Now I think we kind of have to ramp, right? Because we're behind. I mean, we don't have enough mana to get the Feast of Famine in and get it attached. So I kind of think we have to. It kind of makes me think if I should have done it last turn, right? But again, you don't know. There's probably the world where, it could have worked out or it couldn't have. Here, we could actually set it up so we could give Tovolar Trample and make sure we draw a card this turn with his ability that way. And we see Rising of the Day, a haste outlet. I'm not sure if they'd be on the front side or the back side coming back to our turn. So I guess we'll see and just go from, right, we'll just say they're on the back to the front side on our turn. I think it's safe to assume. I mean, here my thought is Feast and Famine and attach it, try to get a card out of Tovolar. I guess there's an argument for like Beastmaster Ascension plus Feast and Famine and just attack, but there's not that good of a buff. I mean, let's say we get another, let's say we did get the, we do still have them out. They could still flip over because of the amount of wolves we have. We do have Huntmaster as well as an option. It would come in and make us 2 more wolves. Again, keeping ourselves wide. But I kind of think I like Feast of Famine on Tovolar. Get in, getting a draw. And then we could always bring Tovolar's Huntmaster in on the backside, right on into Nightbound's side after combat, since these are all going to untap, getting a couple more wolves. And I think now we're just in good shape. Wolfpack probably would have made us 1 or 2 more. But the point is, now it seems like a great time. Even if Tovolar doesn't survive, this is a perfect time to Beastmaster Ascension, right? The next turn. Let's say we get another wolf back to our turn. I think I would probably just Beastmaster Ascension. Even if these have flipped back over and Tovolar's gone, I still think it's worth it, because then everything's going to get +5/+5 this turn and be able to take a really big attack. We could do Ascension. Remember, the only problem with Banner of Kinship is that Wolf and Werewolf are different types, so you can't give the bonus out I think I'd probably just... I was thinking of Ascension. I was thinking maybe like Reaver Cleaver. If Tovolar died, then I would just put the Feast of Famine on Huntmaster. But if it's still there, and I think I'd just set up the Reaver Cleaver for later and attack, and this attack's just going to be brutal with the Beast of Ascension. These are all turning into 7/7s right on the attack. So we could take a big attack this turn. Probably draw a couple cards. The Feast of Famine would let us untap, maybe keep up some protection or what have you. I think that's a decent place to stop. We kind of got our wheels moving on what we'd want to do. Here, keeping a 4-lander with the Kessig Naturalist. Hermit the Natternalls, and whenever an opponent casts a spell during our turn, we get to draw a card. And then on the backside, whenever an opponent casts a spell during our turn, we draw 2 cards. So a good way to profit from that. And then there's the Duskwatch Recruiter. So, turn 1, we see Arlen. I guess that's something to work towards, right? Turn 2, we see the Village Watch. I think it's Naturalist. I guess either way, we're putting Tovolar down probably next turn, right? So if we Naturalist, and then we Tovolar, I guess we could get a mana and go for something bigger, right? But I think it's still worth getting Tovolar down. If we have an attack for Naturalist, we attack. Otherwise, I'm not too worried about it. Maybe it draws this card, maybe it doesn't. We'll just assume it doesn't and then move to the next turn. So here, 4 mana, I think I'm definitely Arlen, right? And I would just pay 0 to make the wolf and flip her over because that's going to fulfill their Nightbound, right? It's possible we are Nightbound this turn. I don't know, right? I'm going to assume Daybound just for the purposes of our playtests, but it's possible we could have lucked out and got onto the Nightborn side. But again, yeah, that loyalty doesn't go away. I don't know why it does that, but she would just be at 3 loyalty there. And again, Tovolar could take an attack here. Kessig could take an attack here if we wanted to. The point is we've got Arlen flipped over, and now we can start using that +1 on future turns. Turn 5, at least, if we assume it's always Daybound on our turn, now we're going to actually be able to flip over, giving some buffs there. We're 1 mana off of the Banner of Kinship. I guess we could Rampant Growth since there's not really much else to do. I mean, I could bring the Recruiter in and just Rampant Growth. Go get a 5th mana to make sure we can get towards Banner of Kinship. But I would tick up Arlen, giving +1/+1 and Trample and take an attack. And I'm more than sure that means we're probably going to end up drawing a card or 2 this turn, right? I guess we could have waited and played that Soul Ring instead of the Duskwatch Recruiter, but that's okay. The point is, we're building the board. So we come back to our turn again. I'm going to assume it's Daybound. So they're going to flip to Nightbound. And then remember, Tovolar is going to flip that Duskwatch Recruiter for us. Reducing everything by 1. Play the Soul Ring. So I've got 6 mana. Again, Arlen's pretty cool. I mean, Overwhelming Stampede could be brutal, right? Caretaker's pretty great. It would come in on its backside, which gives all of our permanents hexproof, and then put 2 counters on each creature at the start of combat, right? That could be pretty big, right? Especially giving them the trample with Arlen. Banner of Kinship could be fun, just coming down and giving the buff, but I think it's Caretaker. Tick up that for the buff at the start of combat. Put 2 counters on each creature we control. Right now, these are going to have that trample from Arlen. They're going to hit hard, drawing us a couple cards. And then everything has hexproof at the moment. Now, once we go back to Daybound, just Averbrook has the hexproof, but I think that's a-okay. Here, I think we just pitched the Natternalls. I think we're pretty much past that. And so back to our turn. If they're not Nightbound, right, Tovolar makes them all Nightbound. We'll draw for turn. 6, 8 mana. I think, to me, the answer is probably just Overwhelming Stampede. I mean, this is 8 right now because of the Averbrook. We could tick up Arlen to make it 9 and then Overwhelming Stampede, and this is just a brutal attack with with a couple of these, especially drawing us some cards, right? But I think that's a good place to stop on that one. We kind of got to see again setups there. The ideals for the attacks are there. Here we're keeping a 3-lander with Beast Within. Weaver of Blossoms is a new Daybound Nightbound werewolf. Front side, add a mana of any color. Back side, add 2 mana of any color. So it's a very good one there. Unnatural Moonrise is another one of our ways for it to make it night. we make it night, and then a creature gets trampled, and wherever it hits, draw cards. So kind of, right, Tovolar's ability, and then we see the Village Watch there. So not a bad start. I mean, I think we want to get Weaver of Blossoms down right and get it going. Right, can't use it this turn, but could potentially, or sorry, no, I keep thinking it's 2 mana, it's 3 mana, so I got probably nothing to do here on this turn. For 3, it's either Tovolar or the Weaver. I think the Weaver makes more sense. Set it up. I guess Realm Walker could have been another choice, but if it's Nightbound, maybe we can get, you know, Tovolar plus something else. But if it's regular day bound, you know, obviously Tovolar's 3 mana. I'm thinking about that. I also think about something like Village Watch. Arlen makes a ton of sense, right? Getting her flipped over would be pretty good. We're just missing that 1 mana, right? 3 mana for Tovolar only leaves us 2 left over. I thought it's Village Watch, Arlen, or Tovolar. The only problem with Tovolar, right, is it wouldn't flip next turn. Arlen would get this close. I guess the truth is either way, we're probably taking the turn off from getting Tovolar done. So I'd probably just Village Watch. It can attack this turn if we wanted to. Again, we'll assume we're going back to our turn with that, play Tovolar, and go from there. I mean, again, I guess I could have done it the opposite last turn, but the truth is it would still be the same, right, this turn that it was last turn. Unfortunately, we just didn't hit that 5th land like we'd like to. Coming into the next turn, now it's going to make it night, and they'll all flip. Remember now, Village Watch is giving everything haste. Blossom Clad Werewolf is now tapping for 2, so now we've got 7. We could do Arlen plus, like, Howlpack Resurgence, right, giving some trample, and that, to me, makes sure that we're going to draw right off of... That makes sure that we're going to draw off of Tovolar, right? Because now all 3 of these can attack. They all have trample, which means inevitably going to draw 3 cards, right? Remember that Amerwolf can't stop our Nightbound vampires from transforming to my knowledge. I could be wrong on that. Somebody can correct me in the comment section. But now, let's say we come back to our turn. Again, we have enough wolves, so Tovolar would still be able for them to flip over. Play the land. I guess, right, tick up. Well, hold on. Before we do this, if there's any werewolves who want to come in to get that buff, right? Loner could come in on the backside this turn and get haste. Its backside says it's a 4/4. Whenever a permanent we control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target. So it could be a fun, right, way for our opponents to block, right? I think it makes sense for Loner to come in on the backside. That's 4. We've got 4 mana left. And we could bring in Averbrook, but it's not going to flip, right, because it missed that section. The answer is probably just Amerwolf. Just give the other buffs, right? And then tick up Arlen, take a big attack this turn. Probably draw at least 3. And we missed our land drop this turn, so we can do that, right? And now we're in great shape. We have the Bear Umbra, another way to set up that Agasol combo, but it's just going to untap all of our lands, making sure we can do multiple things per turn, right? We've got some removal. I think we're in good shape. We're probably just working to get Arlen up the whole way. Again, the trample's helping us draw from each of our werewolves hitting. And we're probably going to hit hard that turn, right? I mean, the +1 from Arlen, the +1 from Amerwolf, it's probably just going to hurt, right? We're drawing cards off of the Tovolar. If we have extra mana, we can put it in to get higher. And again, I think we're in good shape. I mean, just like the last 2 games, we didn't see any of our board protection, so we're in trouble to a board wipe. But we could flip Arlen back over to get another wolf. Maybe we don't play all our wolves out, right? But I think it just goes to show you that at the end of the day, we're a mid-range deck that's probably just going to lose to a board wipe or get hurt by a board wipe anyway. There's nothing we can do about that. But let me know what you think of Tovolar down in the comment section below. What do you think of my list? Is it good? Is it bad? What would you suggest? I'd love to talk with you about it in the comment section below, and I will catch you all next.